You know that sinking feeling in your stomach the moment you realize you've said too much? That instant when the words are already out there, hanging in the air, and your entire body screams at you to take them back. That's not embarrassment. That's not social awkwardness. That's your nervous system going into full panic mode because you just broke one of the most primal rules your brain has spent years teaching you. And here's what most people don't understand. That feeling isn't random. It's a carefully engineered psychological defense mechanism, and it's triggering for a reason that goes far deeper than you think. Psychologists have a term for this. They call it the vulnerability hangover. And it's not just about regretting what you said at a party or in a text message. It's your brain's emergency response system detecting what it perceives as a massive threat to your survival. Because here's the thing, somewhere deep in your psychological wiring, vulnerability and danger are still connected. Your rational mind knows that sharing something personal with a friend or coworker won't kill you, but your primitive brain, it doesn't know the difference between emotional exposure and physical danger. And that's where everything starts to unravel. Think about the last time you overshared. Maybe you told someone about your anxiety. Maybe you admitted you were struggling financially. Maybe you opened up about a relationship problem. Whatever it was, the moment those words left your mouth, something shifted. Suddenly, you're replaying the conversation on a loop. You're analyzing their facial expressions. You're wondering if they're judging you. You're crafting elaborate apologies in your head or planning how to never bring it up again. And here's the part that's going to make you uncomfortable. Your brain is doing this because it genuinely believes you just made yourself a target. But here's where it gets disturbing. That immediate regret isn't actually about the information you shared. It's about something far more primitive. When you overshare, you're not just revealing information, you're dismantling the carefully constructed image you've spent years building. You're showing cracks in the armor. And deep in your evolutionary psychology, that means you've just shown weakness to the tribe. And weakness, historically, got you abandoned, got you isolated, got you left behind when resources were scarce and only the strongest survived. Your ancestors who were too open, too vulnerable, too trusting, many of them didn't make it. The ones who were selective, who kept their struggles hidden, who maintained a facade of strength, they survived long enough to pass on their genes to you. So when you overshare and immediately feel wrong about it, you're not being dramatic. You're experiencing an ancient alarm system that's trying to protect you from social exile. The problem is, that system is operating on outdated information. It doesn't know you're living in a world where vulnerability can actually create connection instead of destroying it. And this is the part that's going to mess with you. The psychological research shows something fascinating. The moment you overshare, your brain starts catastrophizing. It begins running worst-case scenarios at lightning speed. They'll think you're weak. They'll use this against you. They'll tell other people. They'll distance themselves from you. You'll be exposed. And here's the twisted part nobody talks about. Most of those fears never materialize. In fact, studies on self-disclosure show that when you open up to someone, they typically feel closer to you, not more distant. But your brain doesn't care about studies. It cares about keeping you safe. And to your ancient neural circuitry, safe means hidden. This is why you can spend hours after a conversation thinking, why did I say that? They didn't need to know that. I should have just kept quiet. You're not just second-guessing yourself. You're experiencing genuine psychological distress because you've violated an internal rule you might not even know you have. And that rule is simple. Keep the real you locked away where it's safe, where it can't be rejected, where it can't be judged, where it can't be hurt. But wait, it gets even more complicated. Because there's another layer to this that makes the whole thing darker. Oversharing doesn't just trigger fear of judgment. It triggers shame. And shame is the most powerful emotion your brain can generate because it's tied directly to your sense of self-worth. When you share something personal and then immediately regret it, shame floods in with a single message. You're too much. You're broken for needing to say that. You've burdened someone else with your problems. A normal person wouldn't have done that. The psychological term for this is negative self-referential thinking, and it's brutal. Your brain starts gathering evidence that you're fundamentally flawed. It points to this moment of oversharing as proof. It says, see, you can't even control yourself. You're needy, you're attention-seeking, you're that person nobody wants to deal with. And the worst part, you believe it. Because when shame speaks, it sounds exactly like your own voice. It doesn't feel like an external attack. it feels like the truth. Here's what makes this entire cycle so vicious. The more you overshare and then punish yourself for it, the more your brain learns to associate vulnerability with pain. So what do you do next time you're struggling or hurting or need support? You shut down, you say nothing, you isolate. And then you feel alone and disconnected, which makes you crave connection even more, which eventually leads to another moment where you overshare because the pressure has built up too much. And the cycle repeats. You're stuck in this psychological loop where vulnerability feels dangerous, but isolation feels unbearable, so you bounce between the two extremes, never finding balance. If this is hitting hard right now, that's because it's true. And here's the reality you've been avoiding. The solution isn't to stop sharing altogether. That's what your fear wants you to do. That's the safe choice. But it's also the choice that guarantees you'll stay disconnected from everyone around you. The real answer is understanding that the feeling of regret after oversharing isn't proof that you did something wrong. It's proof that your nervous system is still operating on ancient programming that doesn't serve you anymore. So how do you break this pattern? You start by recognizing that the vulnerability hangover is a normal biological response, not a character flaw. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do, protect you from perceived threats. But you get to decide whether that threat is real. You get to challenge the catastrophic thinking. You get to ask yourself, did anything actually bad happen? Did that person reject me? Did they weaponize what I shared? Or did my brain just predict disaster and I accepted it as fact? Most of the time, you'll find that the consequences you feared never came. The person you opened up to didn't run away. They didn't judge you. They probably felt honored that you trusted them. But your brain doesn't update its threat assessment based on positive outcomes. It only updates based on actual danger. So you have to manually override the system. You have to consciously tell yourself, I shared something real, I felt vulnerable, and nothing terrible happened. That means I'm safe. And here's the practice that actually changes things. Next time you share something personal and that wave of regret hits, don't run from it. Don't try to take it back or apologize or minimize what you said. Sit with the discomfort. Notice it, name it, say to yourself, this is the vulnerability hangover, this is my nervous system trying to protect me, but I'm not in danger. Then let it pass, because it will pass. That feeling isn't permanent. It's just a temporary alarm bell, and once your brain realizes there's no actual threat, it quiets down. You also need to get ruthlessly honest about the difference between oversharing and healthy sharing, because they're not the same thing. Oversharing usually happens when you're looking for validation, reassurance, or rescue from someone who hasn't earned that level of trust yet. It's dumping your emotional experience on someone without considering whether they have the capacity or the relationship depth to hold it. Healthy sharing, on the other hand, is mutual. It's reciprocal. It's discerning. You share with people who have shown they're safe, who have proven they can handle emotional complexity, who actually want to know the real you. So here's your calibration test. Before you share something vulnerable, ask yourself, am I sharing this to connect, or am I sharing this to relieve anxiety? Am I trusting this person because they've earned it, or because I'm desperate for someone to understand me? There's no judgment in either answer. But one leads to genuine connection, and the other leads to the vulnerability hangover. And you can start learning the difference. The brutal truth is this: most people who struggle with oversharing aren't actually sharing too much. They're sharing the right amount with the wrong people or at the wrong time, and their nervous system knows it. That's why the regret feels so immediate and so visceral. You're not broken for feeling it. You're just human, trying to navigate a social world that's far more complex than your evolutionary wiring prepared you for. So which pattern do you recognize in yourself? Are you the person who overshares and spirals into shame? Are you the person who's shut down completely because the vulnerability hangover was too painful? Or are you somewhere in between, trying to figure out how to be real without feeling wrecked afterward? Because wherever you are, you're not alone in this. And maybe, just maybe, understanding why it feels so wrong is the first step toward making it feel right.